I would rather beg on the streets than let my own son's wife declare me incompetent. Hi everyone, my name is Eleanor, and this is the story of how my husband and I lost everything we had built in a lifetime, just to save our son. Only to discover he and his wife were planning to strip us of our freedom. But what happened when we left in the middle of the night with only $1,000 changed all of our lives forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. For 45 years, our house on Willow Lane had been my kingdom. I raised 3 children within those brick walls. My eldest, Thomas, my reckless middle child, Andrew, and my daughter Clara, who now lives in New Zealand. Every inch of that home held memories. Sunday roasts, birthday candles, piano recitals, the smell of my roses blooming by the porch. Life has a cruel way of peeling everything away. First, we lost Andrew. His helicopter went down during an overseas mission, and I still remember the crisp American flag they handed us in his place. Clara left soon after, chasing a career on the other side of the globe. And then, 5 years ago, my husband Harold fell off the roof while repairing a leak. His hip shattered, and so did our finances. Our health insurance had lapsed. We drowned under hospital bills, just as the economy collapsed and Thomas's carpentry business began to sink. He was desperate. Creditors circling, foreclosure letters piling up. I remember sitting in the kitchen, my hands wrapped around a chipped teacup, when Harold said, "We could sell the house." I nearly dropped the cup. "Sell our home. It's too big for just us," he said gently. "And Thomas needs us." I thought about my rose garden, the sewing room where I spent countless nights, the attic where my children had scribbled their names on the beams. But Harold was right, our son was drowning. So we sold. It hurt to sign those papers. The house went for far less than it was worth, just enough to clear Harold's medical debt and save Thomas's home. We packed decades of life into boxes, and on moving day, I stood in our empty living room, clutching my grandmother's teapot, tears blurring my sight. "It's just a house," Harold whispered. "No," I told him. "It was our life." We moved into Thomas's spacious home in Cedar Hills, a neighborhood of manicured lawns and sprawling driveways. He and his wife, Sophie, welcomed us with polite smiles. "We're so glad to have you here," she said. The children, 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Max, were truly delighted. They climbed into our laps every morning, begging for stories and hugs. But soon Sophie's kindness cracked. It began with little things. My favorite armchair disappeared from the living room, replaced by a gleaming entertainment unit. Harold's toolbox was shoved into the garage behind piles of junk. At meals, Sophie would smile and say, "Eleanor, almond milk is better for someone your age. Cow's milk can worsen memory loss." Or, "Harold, you really shouldn't have seconds. Men over 70 gain weight so easily." Thomas stayed silent, eyes darting nervously between us. Sophie ruled the house, and he followed. The children noticed. "Mommy, why do you look mad when Grandma hugs me?" Lily asked one night. Sophie laughed, but her eyes turned to ice. As the months passed, we learned to make ourselves invisible. We knew which times we could use the kitchen without her sighs of disapproval, which corners of the house creaked too loudly, which conversations were off limits. Sophie began spinning stories. I once left the stove burner on for a minute too long, and suddenly she was telling Thomas the first nearly burned the house down. Harold stumbled once while healing from surgery, and she exaggerated it into a terrifying fall. "She's building a case against us," Harold whispered one night. He was right. The proof came through an old heating vent in our bedroom. One night, their voices floated up from the kitchen. "I've already toured Maplewood Residence," Sophie was saying. "It's perfect for them. $4,000 a month." Thomas's voice wavered. "We can't afford that. They're Medicare." "Don't be naive," Sophie cut in. "Once they're declared incompetent, we'll get guardianship. Their social security, his pension, the house money. It all comes under our control." Dr. Ramirez agrees Harold's depression and Eleanor's forgetfulness are enough. My blood ran cold. Harold squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "We leave," he whispered, "before they lock us away in some facility and drain every last dollar we sacrificed for them." For 3 days we prepared in secret. I sold my mother's jewelry. Harold pulled out an old emergency account Sophie didn't know about. We packed 2 small suitcases. And the night before we fled, I baked Lily's favorite cookies, while Harold carved a tiny wooden horse for Max. We left them on their nightstands with letters explaining we were going on an adventure, so they'd never think we abandoned them. At midnight, we slipped out through the side door, our hearts pounding like fugitives. We had only $1,000 between us. The bus station downtown reeked of stale coffee and despair. We sat in a corner, clutching our bags like lifelines. A janitor named Rosa noticed us. "Terminal closes soon," she murmured. "There's a diner 2 blocks away. Tell the owner Rosa sent you." That diner became our first shelter. The waitress, also named Rosa, poured us coffee and asked no questions. "Family takes care of family," she said softly. "Not everyone understands that. But I do." For the first time in months, I felt human again. But Harold forgot his medication that night and nearly collapsed. The fear hit me. We were not only homeless but fragile, vulnerable. Just before dawn, a man with silver hair and a veteran's posture walked in. His name was Henry Clark, a truck driver. Rosa introduced us. "I'm headed east to a town called Fairgrove," Henry said. "Quiet place. Low cost. You can ride with me if you want." I hesitated, but Harold said, "Sometimes pride is a luxury we can't afford." By sunrise, we were driving away, the past behind us, and an uncertain future ahead. The highway stretched endless in front of us, the morning sun washing the world in pale gold. Henry drove steady, his hands firm on the wheel, his eyes scanning the road like a man who'd spent half his life behind it. Harold sat beside him, listening intently as Henry shared bits of his past. His years in Vietnam, the long nights on the road, his late wife's laughter he still carried like a song. I sat in the back seat, staring out the window as mile after mile of fields and forests blurred past. For the first time in months, I wasn't afraid of Sophie's cutting remarks or her cold eyes measuring every move I made. For the first time in months, I could breathe. "Fairgrove's a small place," Henry said after a while. "Population's under 1,000. But good people live there. Folks still help each other. None of that suburban competition." When we arrived, Fairgrove felt like stepping into a forgotten painting. Old storefronts lined the single main street, some empty, some still alive with hand-painted signs. Children rode bikes near the square, their laughter echoing in the crisp air. Life here moved slower, softer. Henry pulled up to the Fairgrove Inn, a modest 2-story building with faded shutters but clean windows. "Stay here for now," he said. "I'll check in tomorrow. Don't worry, you're not alone anymore." We thanked him more than words could cover. That first night at the inn, Harold and I lay side by side in the tiny room, staring at the ceiling. "Do you think we can really start over here?" I whispered. He took my hand. "Eleanor, we already have." The next morning, we walked into Maggie's diner, the heartbeat of Fairgrove. Maggie herself stood behind the counter, a tall woman in her 60s with sharp eyes softened by kindness. Henry had already called her. "You two need work?" she asked, sliding us steaming mugs of coffee. He nodded. "I've run church kitchens for years. Baking's my joy. And I've done maintenance my whole life," Harold added. Maggie's face lit up. "Well, as luck would have it, my baker quit last week, and this old place needs a handyman more than I need a new blender. I've got an apartment upstairs. Clean, furnished, nothing fancy. It's yours if you take the jobs." My heart leapt. The apartment was small but warm, with sunlight spilling over hardwood floors and a window that overlooked the square. It felt more like home in an hour than Sophie's house ever had. We accepted. The weeks that followed healed us. Harold found pride again, repairing broken stools, repainting walls, fixing leaky faucets. My hands rediscovered the rhythm of kneading dough and rolling pie crusts. Soon, my cinnamon rolls became the talk of the town. Children called me Grandma Ellie, tugging at my apron strings after school. Harold joined a group of retired craftsmen and spent afternoons in a shared workshop, carving toys and furniture. For the first time since selling our house, we weren't burdens. We were part of something. We were needed. One snowy afternoon in late November, as I pulled a tray of apple pies from the oven, the diner door opened, and there stood Thomas. I froze, pie cutter trembling in my hand. He looked thinner, older. His shoulders weighed down by something heavier than work. And he was alone. "Mom. Dad," he said quietly. "I found you." The words came spilling out over coffee. After we left, he discovered everything. Sophie's notes, the lawyer appointment, even letters from Clara that Sophie had hidden. The truth gutted him. "We're separated now," Thomas confessed, staring at his hands. "You leaving, it opened my eyes. I let her control everything. I failed you." His voice cracked. "I'm so sorry." Before I could respond, the diner door burst open and Lily and Max came running in. They had come with their father, waiting outside, too excited to stay put. "Grandma! Grandpa!" they cried, throwing themselves into our arms. Tears poured down my cheeks as I kissed their hair, their warm little faces pressed against mine. In that moment, every sacrifice was worth it. That night, after the diner closed, Maggie and Henry joined us for dinner. It was an odd mix, our old family and our new one, but it felt right. We laughed, we shared stories, and for the first time in years I felt whole again. When Thomas got up to leave, Lily clung to my hand. "Grandma, you won't disappear again, will you?" I knelt, looking into her wide, tearful eyes. "No, sweetheart. We live here now. This is our home." Later that evening, Harold and I stood by our apartment window, gazing at the snow-dusted town square. Lights glowed from Maggie's diner, laughter drifting up through the cold night air. "We lost our house," Harold whispered, wrapping his arm around me. "But maybe it wasn't really the house we needed." I leaned against him, heart steady. "No, we needed a home. And somehow, against all odds, we found one again. And in that moment I knew we had saved more than our dignity. We had saved our lives." If you like this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share it with someone who believes family should mean more than control. Because sometimes the home you lose isn't the end. It's the beginning of something better.